Okay, recording in progress. So here we are, week 2 of Common Wetland Plants webinar, back with Bob Hollister. And I will just hand it over to you again to take off with it. Thank you.
Well, hopefully you found the webpage helpful. It's more of a resource that you just got for the future. I do plan to expand it over time, and so check it. And by all means, it's public, so anyone can, if you've got people interested. It's really aimed more for former students that kind of want a refresher, or their parents, or or just people that want to learn more about plants. But I specifically added all my aquatic plant stuff first because of you guys. So it's a great resource. A couple other things to look at in that is just the parks. It took me a little bit just to find the maps for all the different parks, because they're all on different systems, if you will. So in those resources, just flipping through those is kind of fun to see, like the West Michigan land conservation parks, and then state parks, obviously everyone knows, but then the different county parks and city parks. That's all there. So, all right. So today's idea was that you guys were going to show some pictures, and we were going to try to figure them out. So we're open for questions, and this doesn't have to be, just me answering. I mean, if some of you guys know some of these plants, then by all means, jump in. So I'm looking for some pictures and questions.
So will you need people to request control, or can people?
Yes. So what you should be able to do the share screen. I can't do it for this. People can do the share screen, and they can pull up a picture.
Yeah, so I think the green button at the bottom, share screen. I think if you have your photos up, then so be brave and let's see what people have.
So Elise, you said you had a.
Yeah, so Nicole's got the photo, so I'm waiting for her to upload that. I see she's on.
Sure.
There she comes. All right.
So it's not native, but I will share photos of it.
Yeah, you shouldn't tell them that.
Sorry, I didn't know if it was constrained to native species only.
No, anything that shows up around here.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's part of the problem or challenge or whatever is with all this, is you got to know all your naturalized stuff.
Okay, so what do you see on my screen right now?
So this, I'm pretty sure this is an orchid, and it's.
I have other photos capturing different angles too. So if you need another photo, just let me know.
Can you zoom in a little?
Sure. Uh-oh. Whoa.
There you go.
So you got a close up of the flower?
Let's see.
Yeah, she's getting to. Oh, there's the leaf. Oh, that's pretty good.
Okay. So I've seen this a bunch of places now.
It was in Ottawa County. And it was just uphill from a wetland. I think it was sandy soil and it was forested.
Well, so I'm pretty sure it's an orchid.
Yes, yeah, it is.
And so I'll just put a sales pitch, if you will. There's the orchids of North Woods is one of my fun, I've got a book for everything. And this is one that's an easy just flip through. And you guys, and I don't, orchids, I don't know very well. And they're not very common in most of our wetlands. So if I was, but I was gonna say the broadleaf hellebore is my first guess, but I haven't. But you sneaked and said that it was
Should have looked it up before
non-native. So given that, that makes it easy because I can cheat and look on the go to the Michigan Flora Online and see how many non-native orchids there are. Of course, I gotta be able to spell everything. Because unfortunately, the worst thing about the Michigan Flora Online is if there's any typos, it doesn't work. And I don't know about you, but I've gotten so that Google and stuff is so forgiving that I never, I've lost my skills, if you will. Yeah, so it's the hellebore. At the I'm not gonna get it right, but I'll just do the share screen. So you have to unshare screen
Okay.
for me to share screen.
There we go.
Voila. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
and just did the search orchid with the introduced. And there you go. And there it's and you can see where it's showing up. And I swear I've seen this everywhere. This my dad's cottage by Reed City, and I'm pretty sure it's growing in my yard here at Gun Lake, and I don't remember seeing it in the past.
Yeah, me either. This was just a one orchid too. It was just solitary.
Yeah, but so I've seen it. I've been meaning to look it up just because. So here's better pictures.
Oh yeah.
But the I mean, I've just seen it grown as a weed lots of places, and it well, because it's so distinctive that it's an or everyone really likes orchids. So to have one just growing randomly in your yard is neat. Now, it loses kind of its oomph as a introduced species, but oh wow. Okay, that was good. And that was great because that was one that I was supposed to tell my dad because it was growing in their yard too. So other plants. Well, well, let me just do a quick share screen again, and let me just go over a couple other fun things on the web page. Get it ready first. All right, so when you're you know, this is set up right now to do primarily the wetland plants. I do plan to expand this. So, again, this one's a unique one because it's not a habitat, but it's just kind of a random plants that are commonly seen. And these ones are quite commonly seen. You know, I do aquatic plants every fall, teach it at Grand Valley. And part of my first assignment is to have students bring in submergents. And these are ones that come in every year. And they're quite consistent. There's some others too, but these are the ones that are on my plant list every year, essentially. So they're the good common ones. Now, a couple of these aren't good and common. They happen to be at my dad's cottage, so I have them in my class every year, the isoides. But most of these others are ones that, or all these others are ones that are really commonly seen. But most of these others, or all these others, are a habitat. So what's nice is if you happen to live by one of these, it's kind of fun to go through the plant list. And I made this so that you can do it just on your phone. So you can be there and just kind of walk through and find most of them. The really nice thing about wetlands is there's not that many species. I mean, it's a much smaller flora, and they tend to be, and most of those species are ones that you'll never see anyhow. There's most wetlands in Michigan are dominated by less than 100 species. So, you know, my plant list is, it used to be like 130, but it's closer to 100 plants for my course. And once you know those 100, you go to pretty much any wetland in the area and you'll know at least 80% of the biomass, and probably more like 95% of the biomass. There might be a couple rare things here and there. And that's really empowering. So it makes it easy as a wetland person to know truly pretty much all your plants. And once you learn the really common ones, you feel really comfortable going to a place and knowing most of it. And then, you know, if you get a rare or something weird, you look it up. I mean, that's what everybody does. Take good pictures, collect it, you look it up. Now, if you're looking up 10 plants, that gets to be very onerous. But if you're looking up one or two, you know, at a place, it's no big deal. And once once you've looked up plants 2 or 3 times, I mean, you just end up seeing the same plants over and over. So, in the process of looking up a plant, usually you remember it. And the nice thing about going through and doing that is you have to know the diagnostic characteristics. The lists here, those bolds are the good characteristics, and those come from multiple keys, and more from kind of fun naturalist books. This is kind of one of my hobbies, if you will, is buying plant books and then flipping through them and, on the couch. Usually what I would do is the night after a class, I sit on the couch and I would remember some plant that I didn't know, and I'd just kind of try to figure it out real quick. And usually I'd actually do that with one of the, like a picture book type thing more than keying it out. I'm not sitting on the couch with a key. But actually I will sit on the couch with a key and go backwards. If it's a good key that does the indentation, that can actually be fun. But this resource, I mean, if you know these different locations, it makes it really easy, or if you're close to them, because all these plants are really common at those places. And this is kind of the list that's kind of tried and true, that they're basically at every year. So I don't change my plant list every year for that year. The plants do change, and sometimes a plant is missing, but most of the time they're not. And if they are, then they're at the next site. So you'll see a lot of overlap between these. But so hopefully this is really helpful for you. And again, this part is probably the most helpful, but you can always, there's the videos for most of these, and you probably know most of these plants, so you can just look to see if there's a species that you don't know, or a genus that you don't know, and then you can just kind of zoom to that, or fast forward to that. So that's for you. You see some of these, I've actually got the times for, Hoffma Park is one that I go to in the spring and in the fall. And my spring course, I went through and added time so that it was easier to fast forward directly to it. Again, this was made for my courses, and then I just made it available. So my spring course, everything is common names. So it's all the common names. And then the fall course, it's the genus, it's the Latin names, but then species that weren't on their plant list, I put in as a common name. So you'll see sometimes a common name in these, so burr reed. But so it's kind of a mixture of common and Latin names in these lists. Other things that I think would be kind of fun, I mean, I was alluding to it at the beginning here, was these locations, so recreational areas. The Pure Michigan has a nice, theoretically, just everything near you, and you can kind of zoom in on that. And it's got, this is already clicked for hiking, because usually that's, as a botanist, the hiking areas are where you're going to want to find plants. And you can, I mean, you can move around to this and you can zoom in and it'll give you things near you. And that's already kind of synthesizing multiple locations. The DNR recreational areas, again, you can zoom in but this is then only DNR stuff. So it's kind of annoying because many of these are, well, all but the Pure Michigan one is only for that type. But, you know, Ottawa County has a ton of really nice parks. And then you can zoom in and you can click on those and it'll give you information for each of them. Kent County does the same thing. They don't, and you know, there's no standardization for any of these. So every web page is totally different and so forth. But this is for West Michigan or Grand Rapids area. This is a nice, nice location for just all the parks. The Michigan Nature Association, you can click on each county and then view locations for each county. It's not as user friendly of a, but it's still, I mean, you can zoom in better, but it doesn't, anyhow, those are those locations. And Land Conservancy of West Michigan has some really nice locations as well. And again, here's the, you know, you zoom around. So, so I just thought that, well, I also just threw Blanford and Pierce Cedar Creek because those are kind of partners that I have worked with. And then Grand Rapids and Grand Haven, you know, have some actually, I mean, Almond Park is part of the Grand Rapids. So you can just click trails and there's Almond Park, etc. This one doesn't have a map, but there's a handful of parks here. And then Grand Haven actually has some nice areas too. Hoffma Park is one of the ones that I take my class to. So anyhow, but the point is there's a lot of areas that are totally accessible, but they're not very well organized. I didn't look at the Pure Michigan to see if all these show up, but I would be shocked if they all do, just because they're all, you know, operated by different people. But this is kind of a nice, I mean, this is great for right around here, but you can just substitute your county for county parks. And then some of the townships and cities will have some pretty nice parks too. And then I threw some of the associations, you know, here's us, if you will. But again, if you've got suggestions, just send me emails. I'd like this to be kind of a one-stop shopping for plant people, you know, within reason, kind of with a West Michigan-ish focus to it. So that those are things that I don't think I went over very well a week ago. All right, so we're still waiting for some other pictures, plants, comments, questions about anything.
Hey, Charles Humphreys here. Good morning. Yeah, I thought I might share. I planted a hedgerow with some wetland species, so I thought it'd be fun to share my experience with that. So I'll share a screen here and show you what I got.
I'm guessing it's Aronia, but I don't know.
Yep. And here's a kind of a zoom in. And it's interesting to note here that there's 5 of them. And the 2 closest to the tree line here are just getting really eaten down by deer. Well, they're all kind of getting eaten, but yeah, they're more emboldened here by the tree line.
I can't see
but-
it.
What's that?
I can't see your screen.
Oh, sorry.
Hit the share screen.
There we go.
Okay, how about now?
It's coming. Oh, yeah. And the Costco on 28th Street, they've got aronia planted in the parking lot. And the berries are really good. And they're full of antioxidants and everything else. So it's funny, you know, people look at me like a homeless person or something that I'm, you know, in the parking lot eating all the berries and they're giving me a weird look.
Yeah, and I have found that I got a 3-gallon sprayer and I mixed up some garlic powder and cayenne pepper powder. That seems to keep the deer away pretty good, but you know, of course, you got to reapply it after each rain, or and a lot of times I don't do it, and then they start eating them again. But and then here's just a close up of what I call the chokeberry.
Yep.
And so that's one of them.
If I remember correctly, because I get them wrong, the aronia, does aronia have the little hairs, or is it wild raisin? I've got them both in my yard and they grow right next to each other, and
I'm not sure, to tell you the truth.
it's one of the 2. If you look at the close up of the leaf, it has little red hairs on it.
On the front or the?
On both the front of it, but it's just on the vein. And I think it was
Okay.
but oh, you need a better focus. But they're tiny. I mean, I need to take my glasses off, and
Yeah.
it might.
Hairs up here. Oh yeah, I see some like on this vein here. I don't know if you can see, I'm hovering over with my cursor, but I don't know if that's what you're talking about.
They're obvious. I see them more on the front of the leaf. Yeah, keep zooming right where you were.
Oh, down here.
But it would be, they'd just be little red dots. Anyhow. that's
Okay,
one.
interesting.
So do you eat the berries?
We've tried them. They're not too bad, but there's some blackberry bushes nearby, and we prefer those.
Well, yeah.
But they don't make you choke, which we expected when we tried them.
They're supposed to be like one of the highest antioxidants you can eat.
Oh, wow. Yep, I'll have to add more of those to my diet then.
Yep. I mean, it's more fun to just kind of do a few.
Yeah. This one, it's a cultivar, so here's
Is this cranberry? Yeah, high bush cranberry.
nope.
It's a
this
viburnum.
one- Nope.
Physocarpus.
And it's a cultivar, so it might throw you
Yeah.
off a little bit. But anybody else
Yeah.
have any guesses?
9 bark.
Yep. So I forget what cultivar is, but yeah, it's the 9 bark. Now, I didn't get a close up of the bark, which is cool. You know, that peeling bark
Yep.
toward the trunk, but yep, that's the 9 bark. And the deer have left that one alone. So no problems with that for whatever reason. They don't like it. Here's the 3rd one.
Zoom in a little bit. It's hard to.
Yep.
So those are opposite leaves. Yeah. And so I'm assuming it's a viburnum of some kind, but I can't
Yeah,
from those.
yeah, the viburnum leaf beetle has really ravaged all these. So you can see they're really sparse, but yeah, that's the high bush cranberry.
Okay, so that is.
And tell you the truth, I forget whether it's I bought it from a local nursery. I don't remember if it's there's like a European version, right? And there's glands you can look at. I forget, I'll have to check it out, see if it's the native or the European version. Does that sound right? There's two versions?
I believe so. I've got it in my yard too. I've never, I don't know the difference between the native and the non-native. But I think it's the same. I mean, the one I've got, it's the native species, so it'd be a different. I didn't, a lot of the local or there are different genotypes, which you can get into arguments with people whether you should be putting different genotypes, which then can dilute the gene pool. From my perspective, it's great to be planting natives in general, but
Right.
One of my buddies, tore up his yard and went pretty much all native, and he tries to actually buy the cultivated ones of the native plant, because then they flower longer, because they've been bred to do that. Whereas when he gets them at kind of the native plant sales, they tend to be less robust and flower less long. And then, he moved and he was really sad because, the new owners tore up everything because they thought it looked like weeds.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Yep.
Yeah, that was definitely what I was going for, looking for the natives. And then, yeah, then I think after I bought it at some point, I learned there was the other English version. I just can't remember if I figured out what I had. And then here's the 4th out of 5 species.
Is that an elderberry? I can't, you gotta get closer. Ooh. Does it have berries?
It does have berries. Yep,
Okay.
it has
I don't
red
see any berries. So is it ilex? Someone said that.
I believe so. Michigan holly.
Yep.
Yep.
So, and the other fun, so if you look at the tip of the leaves, they look like someone pinched them. I can't really tell with these, just they don't all. Okay, there you do.
This one.
Yeah, the term is acuminate. So it looks like someone kind of pinched them at the end. No, not every leaf will do that, but many of them do. But the really know it would be the red berries, and you're mean because you've showed us a picture without red berries, but I don't know if they've started to turn red yet.
And I don't think they've got berries yet, to tell you the truth.
Yep.
Yeah, in the fall they'll put on the berries, and then the birds will eat them pretty quickly. But yep, and this is a good example of what you're saying.
Michigan holly, just in the chat thing, is there's the ilex. Oh, I'm not going to remember the species, but there is a holly that's the same holly that you put in your yard, is naturalized. Don't think it's native. The Michigan holly is this. So yes, winterberry and Michigan holly. You get kind of funky because common names people don't always use properly, but I would call Michigan holly the winterberry.
Yeah, and I'm definitely guilty of using common names too much for sure. And yeah, this one is, you can see it really didn't take off like the other ones. So I think I need to plant some more in between to fill in the gaps. But, so then there's one more.
So this is another viburnum.
Nope.
They're opposite leaves. Oh, okay, yeah, dogwood.
Yep.
And okay, so that's the red osier dogwood.
You got it.
Um, and then the fun thing with the dogwoods is the break the leaf and the silky threads in between.
Yeah. Yep. And yeah, this I initially planted it toward the tree line, and these almost got eaten down to the ground, but then moved them farther toward the house, and then they really took off. So the deer find these tasty, but yep, they're a little shy, I guess. They like to stay toward the tree line over there. But yeah, thanks. That's all I got.
Cool. It's funny how much wetland plants are sold at the plant store. I used to always be really perplexed, but then a lot of gardeners tend to overwater, so you can't kill a wetland plant by overwatering it. I mean, there's even creeping Jenny is a submergent that it's not, a lot of your submergents don't like, I mean, they actually prefer to be in mud rather than underwater, but I mean, my stepmom has it in her garden. And I look at it and go, yeah, it's a submergent. But you know, but you can't overwater it. So, and everyone knows purple loosestrife, right? Escaped cultivation. Other people got some fun pictures to go through with us. Well, ooh, so this is a submergent. This is, you can eat this. Brassicaceae, the watercress. Yeah.
Yes, that's correct. Sorry, I was struggling to find the controls on Zoom.
So the fun thing, you can buy this at the grocery store, or Myers oftentimes sells it. And technically a lot of submergents are technically edible, but any of the below water is going to have all the gunk on it. You know, just the pond scum will kill you. So you know, you always want to just collect the stuff above the water and not get overzealous and get below the water, because getting that stuff can be bad.
I suppose that's good to know.
I like this one because it's the oddly pinnate leaves. It's the only oddly pinnate leaved submergent that I can think of. other plants, you can take it away. Just hit the share screen at the bottom.
I have a few I could share.
Go
Let me
for it.
see if I can. Okay.
Takes a second to get comfortable with how to share everything.
Well, yeah, I use Teams a lot. Not the best with Zoom.
Okay, so there's the ilex with the berries.
Yeah. So I believe there are 2 native species in Michigan. This is verticillata or verticulata.
Yep.
And then the other one is, I think, mucronata maybe, and it had, the way I can tell is the leaf tips. So these I think are like the pinched ones you were referring to, but then I don't know if I'm saying it right, but mucronata I think is the other one, and it has kind of a very distinct, like they're kind of fat and then just a tiny little tip. So that's how I usually tell those apart. But I think those are both native, and then there is a non-native in Michigan too. So
Okay, yeah, I just looked it up on so Mercanata. I didn't realize that it doesn't have the acuminate.
yeah, so I think if you look at oh yeah, I don't realize I'm up in the Gaylord area. I don't see this one a lot, but the leaves are different. That's how I usually just tell them apart.
Okay, that's the other
This is the mucronata.
Granada.
Yeah. But and then I've got, let's see. This is it's not a great picture, but it's one of my favorites.
Oh, starts with a P. Yeah,
Parnassus.
Yeah.
Yep. Grass of Parnassus. So I just think the flowers are really cool
I do too.
on this one. And then I just had one other to show. This is not my picture. But this is at least I think state threatened. I'd have to look. But this is Great Lakes coastal plant.
Is that right, Tansy? I don't know this one.
Yep, Lake Huron-Tansy.
Okay.
So just a few fun ones that I had. I had one more Great Lakes peony. Let's see if I can find it. This one is also not my picture.
Iris.
Yeah, so this is dwarf lake iris. This interesting. I've not seen this myself, but some of my coworkers have. This on Boys Blank or Pablo Island. I don't know. There's a few different names for it, but it grows like in people's yards and they just mow it. So, but it's technically I think it's actually a federally threatened species. I'd have to double check, but really tiny little iris that grows along the Great Lakes coastline. So a couple of fun ones that I get to see every once in a while. Thought I'd share.
Yeah, I was just looking it up. I don't know the conservation status of it.
So let's see.
One of my neighbors has a ton of crocus in their yard, and it's just gorgeous, and then they just mow it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, so Michigan flora, I don't know that. It doesn't look like they provide the.
Yeah, they don't.
Yeah,
The conservation, the coefficient of conservation there 10, so that's really high.
yeah.
But it
Mhm.
doesn't, I was just looking at the dwarf lake iris and it doesn't give the, okay, it does have a T for the threatened.
Oh, status. Yeah, okay. But I don't know if that means state or federal, I guess. It might be.
Yeah, I don't either.
It might just be federal, I guess, but let's look at Tanzania.
I usually do
Yeah, threatened.
USDA plants also to kind of look at that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Or MNFI usually has it.
Yeah, Michigan natural resource or native features.
Inventory. Yeah. Houghton's goldenrod. Yeah, Keith, I don't have any pictures of Houghton's goldenrod right now. Or I'd show that.
Other people with some fun pictures they want to share. So does everyone do native planting in their yard? Obviously Charles does. I do. The more native, the better. I will say this week or last week, I broke down and sprayed my yard for mosquitoes and I felt really, really bad because my whole point of the yard was to have native everything and food for native and then I go zap them, but you know, there's compromises. I was happy to still see a bunch of butterflies, so I didn't spray too bad.
We have a native plant garden. It's adjacent to our vegetable garden, but we have bergamot, coneflower, both purple coneflower and gray-headed coneflower, compass plant, butterfly weed, milkweeds, probably a few others, several like warm season grasses too. So pretty fun.
It's, you know, so I started to do a wetland one, and then I've got a little forest, you know, which is mostly spring flowers, you know, trillium type stuff. And so now I feel guilty when I buy something that isn't native, you know, but my rule of thumb is if you can eat it, it's okay. And if it's native, it's okay. Otherwise, it's got to be super, super pretty because it should be either edible or native. So it's fun at the yard. You can pretty much eat something from April to, you know, August or to October, you know, between grapes and, you know, rhubarb and, you know, the early stuff, well, fennel and, you know, all the greens that overwinter. For that matter, last year, you know, with COVID and everything, we're Brussels sprouts in the middle of the winter, and you know, kale and stuff was going through December.
So Bob, what are your favorite places to purchase native plants?
Well, so you know, I do the Calvin College. You know, they do their native plant sale every
Amazing.
Kent County does the same thing, usually the same day. And then around me, Pierce Cedar Creek does a native plant sale in June. Wild Things in Mason is
Type.
or Wild Types, yeah.
Yeah.
I've gone that one of my buddies lives kind of close to there. So, you know, I go there, you know, usually they only open on select weekends. And they're kind of expensive, but those are the ones that I try to hit up every year. The Michigan, one of the, I think it's the Wildlife Association or maybe Michigan Nature Association. One of my spam emails gives a list of all the, you know, native plant sales every spring.
Great, thanks.
What other people got good favorites? Police, you got ones that,
Oh, well, usually I'm ordering for projects, so I use Wild Type a lot.
okay,
Yeah, and for like bare root trees, the place to go is Alpha Nurseries. But you really have to get your order in early enough because they sell out. So planning is really important. They do trees and shrubs. It's all bare root plants, but you know, that's the most economical way to get woody plants on the site. And I go with Cardno, you know, which is, they're in Indiana, but you know, they have a good selection through their native nursery. I know there's some other nurseries around in Michigan that I haven't used very much. So that's why I was kind of curious if other people have recommendations, just so, because sometimes availability can be an issue, especially like we do a fair number of rain garden designs, and I try to make those be pretty much all native plants, but getting the quantities you need can be an issue. So yeah, if anybody else has suggestions for plugs or potted plants, I'm interested in that kind of feedback. I think there's one or two other nurseries in the Kalamazoo area that I haven't used before. So yeah, if anyone has any words of wisdom along those lines, I'd be really interested in hearing what you have to say.
Yeah, I would suggest conservation districts, checking with them. A lot of them have spring and or fall tree sales, and a lot of times they sell native plants along with that. It depends on the conservation district. Now, they do sometimes sell some non-native trees, but I mean, you know, I think most of them, you know, that most of the species are native, and those are usually bare root, but some of them will have plugs or potted trees, or like the native plants are probably, you know, not bare root. But even if you're just looking for where they get their plants from, contacting your local conservation district might be, you know, a good resource. And in Gaylord, the Otsego Conservation District actually has a native plant greenhouse, and I think they sell native plants. You know, I don't know about year round, but you know, I think outside they sell it outside of just their tree sale times too. So I don't know if anybody else is up north like I am, but that's who I always send people to up here if they're looking for native plants, is the Otsego Conservation District. But there's a conservation district in almost every county in Michigan. So they're a good resource.
Yeah, they are. And one thing I've noticed is that they can really vary from county to county as far as like how robust they are, is like how many services and like how many resources they have for just like for getting plants or for anything. So kind of interesting. And some seem to really, have their act together and have a lot going on, which is kind of exciting.
Yeah.
I guess
A
funding.
lot of that's related to funding. Yeah. Some
Yeah,
of them have
yeah,
more robust
exactly.
funding sources than others. So
Yeah.
Other plugs for favorite plant sources? I used to be in Grand Rapids. Creekside was my favorite plant store, and I got to know the owners really well. And I, kind of convinced him to do native, and he wouldn't. I mean, they sold everything, but they started to do more natives, and actually was growing his business with that. But then they retired, so I was luckily I'd already filled in my yard by then. But now I'm still kind of searching for a good replacement, if you will.
Well, we're just about at the 10 o'clock hour. So probably wrap it up now, I guess. Last chance. But thank you all for joining us for these 2 weeks. And thank you so much, Bob, for presenting this class. The intent was kind of as an introduction or fundamental class for kind of younger or newer wetland folks to help them feel more secure out in the field. So the resources that you've shown us online and your videos and your input's just been super helpful for that. We always need to keep our profession growing and active, and having these resources is really helpful in that regard. So, and thanks for the work that you're doing in Grand Valley too, and in training the next generation.
Well, thank you. And as people have suggestions for stuff, just send me a quick email.
Oh wait, someone says I have a plant for you to look at.
Oh,
Beaver B3. There's still time.
Hey, sorry. I was trying to get this picture to upload and it finally did. So
Okay,
thank
you.
Okay. Can you see it okay?
yep.
Yep.
Okay, so are those opposite? Nope. Is this some kind of, no, it's not a chair. Is it spice bush?
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Now, the way I would know it is to break a leaf. The berries are technically edible. They're not great, but there's a lot of like spice bush and the rose hips are ones that my kids occupied like in the early winter on a hike. They don't really taste all that great, but it's more the thought of eating is kind of fun. Keep them going on a trail.
Yeah. Sometimes I will chew on a leaf. I don't know if that's good or not, but it tastes fine.
Yep.
Hey, I have a question about spice bush since you brought it up. So it is ranked as a wetland plant, but I keep seeing it in slightly drier areas also. So you have a view on that? Seems to have kind of a range of tolerance.
Many of your wetland shrubby stuff or woody stuff in general, there isn't any that are very, I mean, none of them are obligate. So, but, so I see it all over. I've planted in my yard. You can get horticultural varieties now. But many of your, wetland-ish shrubs grow just fine anywhere. So it's more just a, which is more common here or there. And there's certainly some shrubs that just don't do well in saturated at all. So then, but yeah, I see it. I mean, it's much more just a forest understory plant that tends to be in kind of the closer to a creek or something, but it's much more just a forest understory, at least that I see it.
Yeah, that sounds right. All right. Okay, well, I guess we all have to get back to work. So this was fun.
All right. Well, thanks for inviting me. And again, holler if you find some good resources, and I'll add them to the webpage, and it's there for, as you get new colleagues or whatever, send them there to kind of get their feet wet.
Great. Thanks, Bob. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.